All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Crossing Swords. As always, I'm Andrew.
Guess who's back? Back again.
Jake
is back. Tell a friend.
I feel like I should have got like a soundbite. I didn't. I'm not going to lie. You're not that important. But I feel like you deserve some sort of welcome back, and I feel like this is appropriate.
It is appropriate. Did you know that was there, or was that one of your random
I lined it up while you were in the bathroom. That's how good I am to you.
You are good to me.
I am.
I've missed that. I've missed you being good to me.
I've missed you.
I've missed you too, bro.
How's it felt being away?
Good. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, how the trip's been?
And I've only done the one.
True.
But it's good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. How are you feeling in yourself?
How are you feeling yourself?
Yeah.
What a question.
Yeah.
Absolutely love
Going
it.
deep from the get-go. You know me.
I'm waiting for the feedback, in all honesty. The feedback on the day throughout the trip was good.
Okay.
It's one of those things, you know, people say nice things to you there and then
behind your back.
like, what a wanker.
Yeah, hated every second.
And let's be honest, I've met me.
Yeah.
I know what I'm like. I know the reputation I can garner.
It's weird. I've never actually really seen you in a professional setting.
No.
I've only ever seen you like out in the wild. Do you know what I mean? Like out,
Wild.
just roaming the fields. You know, sleeping with women,
Hanging free.
hanging free. Yeah, hanging as well. Do you know what I mean?
Which is what I did a lot during the trip. That might come up.
But like, I've been with you travelling sometimes, and you are quite. I wouldn't say you're difficult, but you're quite like set in your ways, perhaps.
Those days are gone, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're more airy fairy.
Way more. Honestly, just
I'd love to know what Ash says about that,
whatever.
because he's travelled with you a lot more than I have.
Well, no, but I would say since I've been doing this,
You've had to.
those days are gone.
I guess you've got to. Like, too much is in flux.
just-
Too
just
much is
whatever.
going on.
Whatever happens, happens.
Have there been like any like proper like spanner in the works?
We were not nothing major because it's, you know, I'm kind of a pro, it's no big deal.
Oh,
Just
right,
roll
you
with
just
it.
roll with it.
We were late off. We were about 3 hours late setting off on the first day,
Okay,
which wasn't
it's
ideal.
not a good start.
It's does put a bit of a spanner in the works. And we had a nice sort of 3.5 hour delay on the ferry over from Dublin to Holyhead,
Okay.
which was what was more annoying was everyone had done
It's Holyhead.
North Wales.
Okay, cool.
Everyone had done really well to get up, and we left at 6:15
Yeah.
to catch the ferry. And then we get there and they're like, yeah, there's like a 2.5 hour delay. Like, so we could have been in bed.
An extra 2.5 hours.
Because when they said it when we got on the ferry and they were like, during a routine maintenance check last night, I'm like, so you motherfuckers knew.
You could have
You didn't say
told us.
shit. That's fine. It's fine. It is what it is. And then by the time we got off, it was about 3.5 hours rather than 2.5 hours. But no, other than that, there was nothing major.
Any highlights?
I particularly enjoyed hearing about everyone that went on the pub crawl in Edinburgh. So I ducked out. As soon as the first passenger goes, I go back with them,
Okay.
kind of thing. Made it to 4 out of 6 bars,
Well, that's
which is
sort
pretty
of
good.
sensible, isn't it? Because I assume you've got to be up for work in the morning.
That's the thing, is like everyone's got to be up, but everyone else gets to like sleep through the day or do
You've
it.
actually got to do work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's fine. So we went out, had fun, made it to 4 out of 6 bars, which isn't bad. It might be 7 bars. But anyway, made it to most of them. And then just hearing about everyone having trouble. Apparently there was like issues when they were getting in the taxi. Apparently they'd get like 2 in the taxi and one would wander off. And then they'd go and grab them and get them back. And then one of the other ones had climbed out of the taxi and wandered off somewhere else. And I was like, that. I enjoyed hearing about that.
That's a good reason to go to bed, to be honest.
Yeah. Not my responsibility.
No. Well, and that's the thing. Like, how long are they your responsibility for on the night out, though? Like,
I mean, as
are
long
you
as I'm with
technically meant to be there with them the whole night? Or?
Here's my look. No, I don't have to be there with them at all.
Really?
No.
So the pub crawl,
It was an optional thing.
Right.
They
Okay.
could choose to do it or not do it. As far as I'm aware, as far as I'm concerned, you're all adults.
Yeah.
You do what you want. This is where we've got to be
Tomorrow morning.
Or in fact,
Do you just
the
not
next
leave
day was
people behind?
the next day was a free day, so I didn't actually have to be anywhere.
Okay.
Oh no, it wasn't a free day. No, we did have to get up. Yeah, so it's like, this is where you got to be.
What's the policy on like leaving people behind?
Depends how pressed for time you are.
Okay.
Generally speaking, you can't have it. You can't have someone's delay impact the delay on the rest of the passengers and the rest of the trip.
Yeah.
So you leave them details on how to get where they've got to go, and then it's up to them to try and recoup that from
The company or...
Well, not even the company. Like I was going to say insurance, but if it's through your own fault, you're not getting that money back through insurance.
No.
You just got to stomp up and pay it.
Yeah. Fair enough. No, I was just curious. Just curious.
But yeah, feeding the Highland cows as well, that always goes down well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. I like it. I dig it.
What have been your podcast highlights while I've been away?
It's been interesting. I was really nervous for both, to be honest, especially the first one, because for 4 years we've podcasted
It's been
together.
me and you.
So like, you don't know. Like, I know it sounds really silly because I've podcasted for 4 years, so I quote unquote know how to podcast. And the thing is, it's not actually that complicated. You're just sitting and having a conversation with someone across the table from you.
Don't give the secrets away, man.
But there was definitely a part of me was like, can I do it without Jake? Do you know what I mean? Like, how's that going to go? Because as I said to you, I think when we discussed that we were going to have guests on, I've got used to, like, at times, if I'm not quite feeling it, you might, like,
I will
improv or whatever, like, keep us moving. So I felt like that was all going to be on me.
Yeah.
For these episodes.
It's on your shoulders.
And actually, to be fair, and I think it's a testament to both Andrew and Joe, they were really easy to talk to. And I think Lil, perhaps, he came across a bit nervous when I've listened back to it a bit, particularly in the beginning. But I would say very quickly, I would say after maybe 10, 15 minutes,
well, it's not a natural setup to have a conversation, is it?
No, it's not. You've got mics, there's camera.
As a man of a certain age, yeah, it is.
And I guess, like, my demeanour changes when we, like, it just does when you start recording your, I don't know, I feel like I'm definitely...
You buoy up a little bit.
Maybe a little bit, yeah. But no, both of them were really easy to talk to. I had a good laugh with both of them. It was really nice listening to Andrew talk about sort of like the cyber security stuff.
Something which he's a bit more well versed in.
Oh, 100%. And it was hilarious because it's the conversation sort of started with him being like, it's really important we do X, Y, and Z because there's X, Y, and Z out there. And I was like, I'll be honest with you, if you looked at like the password compromising page on my iPhone, you'd probably hit me. And he was like, you need to sort that. And I was like, the way I look at it, mate, there's so much out there trying to steal my data that there's not really a lot I think I can do about it. And in the end, he was sort of like, yeah, there isn't really, to be honest with you. And I was like, yeah, so let's just
leave it.
It's just a free-for-all, mate.
Password 1, 2, 3,
and I was
4.
like, the most these people are going to get from me is a month's wages. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, there's nothing in my account that can be stolen.
No. So, but no, it was great having them both on. It was interesting doing it on my own. And yeah, I enjoyed it. And I think they enjoyed it. I mean, to be honest, me and Neil haven't spoken since. No, it's not true. I think we've spoken in some group chats and stuff, but we've not actually spoken about the podcast. But I don't know. Did you listen to it?
I've listened to the clips. I started trying to listen to it, but you're so go.
The reason being, do you know the running joke about me not asking Lil how his parents was?
Yeah.
And that was why he never told me his dad had cancer. Well, one of the things he sent me beforehand was him and his dad have done cancer trials because it's been through multiple generations of his family. They wanted to see basically their genes but they've got not a much higher percentage than the average person of getting cancer, basically, was what came out of it. But I nearly made a joke at the start of the episode about, like, how's your mum and dad? And it turns out his dad's got cancer again. And I'm
not laughing at that, by the way.
But I didn't make the joke. And I remember saying, when he started telling me, because he told me as we're talking about the cancer trial stuff, and he was talking about his dad having cancer, and I was like, has he got it again? And he said, yeah. And I was like, and I told him that I was going to make that joke and that I didn't. And I'm fucking pleased I didn't.
That would have been brilliant, though.
Just for anyone listening, his dad's doing all right. He's going to be okay. But yeah, so no, it was quite a bit.
That would have been amazing.
And to be fair, I think even if I had made the joke, I don't think
he'd have gone with it.
He wouldn't have stormed off. He wouldn't have been pissed off. It would have just been, I'd have felt fucking terrible.
He'd have been fine.
But no, yeah, it was great having them on. And like, it makes me feel more comfortable with having other people on in the future. I've reached out to people like Alex and Alan so far. Both of them have said they're willing to come on, so that's good. And yeah, I might try and do a Zoom one with Ash, but I don't know quite how to make that work at the moment, but I'm thinking about it. But
It's
been good.
in the mixer.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm being open. Do you know what I mean?
You always are.
And like,
why this works.
there's even other people I've been tempted to get on that would really be interesting. I don't think they'd come on.
Oh, I think I know who you're thinking of. I'm not going to say it. But
No,
and
because I don't want to name them. Like I had I don't know if you
people
saw
who
it.
have very different views.
Yeah, and I interacted with them on Twitter yesterday. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, I always find it a bit weird when you interact with porn stars, but
well, look, they're people too.
not according to your tweets.
No, I'm not that guy. I'm all for the porn stars. They can do what they like.
Anyway,
but like, I had like a real thought about it, and I would want to have a conversation with someone like that with my facts. Like, I would want to sort of anticipate what their answers
like
might
a
be,
proper
and
journalist.
yeah, and to be honest with you, I don't know if I want to do that.
No, but like a proper journalist, when they interview politicians, when they go, "But that fact's wrong, isn't it? Because
Well,
here's
they
the
don't do
correct
that,
fact."
most of
No,
them.
I know, but the few that do it stands out, doesn't it?
And
That's who you want to
and
be.
the problem is, I don't want it to be like me sitting here and just trying to tell them they're wrong for an hour about
That's
stuff.
not the way you do it.
No. And the problem is, I'm pretty sure, because when I tried to interact with this person on Twitter,
That's how you do it. You go,
yesterday-
why?
Oh, yeah, because
Yeah.
they put something on
I
Twitter
saw- I
about all people on. They've been discussing it at work, and they said anyone who votes for reform is a racist, and him and a load of other people couldn't understand why they'd think that. Now, I completely understand why they
100%.
think that, but I was genuinely in that moment. I was curious, and it wasn't to trip him up. I wasn't trying to.
Just why?
Yeah. So if you're considering voting for them, what's your reason for it? And their answer was basically, I haven't even decided if I am voting for them yet. I just know it's not going to be Labour and the Conservatives.
But you want to really ask. I want to really ask and get into it and go. But why do you think that? Why do you think someone might vote reform who isn't a racist? What reason might someone vote for them that doesn't boil down to immigration?
And the problem is, like, there's not really anything for them to hide behind. I feel like with UKIP, there was the sort of Brexit side to it that sort of hid, because Brexit didn't just affect migrants from places like the Middle East and places like that. Brexit involved European immigrants and all sorts
who
of
it
people.
turns out people were okay with.
Apparently.
Turns out the racists were like, no,
not
they're
you,
all right.
Not you. But I think because they could sort of hide behind the umbrella of Brexit, of like, this isn't a race issue, this is
An economic issue.
Yeah. Whereas I think now,
That's gone.
reform, it's all immigration. That's all they're standing on. And all of the things they're promising are completely unfunded. Nigel Farage wasn't going to run, is now running.
Is he running?
He's running.
I've not seen that news.
He's now running for the Clacton seat that Richard Tice was going to stand in.
Right, okay. Sure.
And he's now not going to, because basically he came out before the election, was like, I'm needed too much in America. Like, my job's too important in America, which is basically working for Donald Trump on the campaign trail. And he's changed his mind and is going to run for MP in Clacton.
It's batshit, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, like, I am.
But that's how you challenge it. You just say, why? That's what you ask.
The thing
why,
is, I completely
why?
agree with you. And then when I thought about taking that tact, it's very quickly going to boil down to they're either going to shrug their shoulders or not have.
Well, this person in particular has a history, a track record of. I've certainly done it with this person. I think if it's the person I'm thinking of, I think you might have done it with this person. Where when you do that, why? Like most people in that situation, they backtrack, they switch, and they kind of go, "Oh no, I don't." You know, actually, it's not that bad. But you've just got to ask those questions. You just got to go, but why, and make them stop and sort of, even if they don't mean it. Well, no.
And the reason I asked that question is because I genuinely don't understand
how you could think anything else.
Yeah. Why you would want to vote for reform if you weren't a racist, as you said. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Or maybe not a racist, but at the very least deeply uncomfortable being around foreigners.
It's not. I think it's not even just foreigners. It's like, let's call it what it is. It's anti-black.
Yeah.
And it's Islamophobic.
Yeah.
They're the crux. Racism at play. They're the main ones. It's like, you know, Pablo from Spain.
Yeah.
And, you know, Rita from Germany. They're okay. They're fine.
Because they're white.
Almost regardless of what colour they are, they're still fine. It's you know, Mohammed from Pakistan, and it's, Do you know what I mean?
That's a very safe name for Pakistan, by the way.
But do you know what I mean? It's those people.
No, 100%.
It's Victor from Nigeria.
Yeah.
These are the ones that we should be, because they're, you know, their whole culture is wrong.
Yeah.
And that's what it boils down to. It's this belief that, oh, they come over here and they, you know, they want to behead people and put women behind locked doors and stuff. And it's like, based on what? Like, have you ever actually been to even Muslim communities in the UK?
No.
Or like African communities in the UK? What on earth are you possibly basing this on?
Yeah.
Their kids grow up more British than you or I. Like, I know that seems dumb, but
they definitely grow up believing in my opinion, the British values more than anyone, because they see the
don't take it for granted.
Yeah, and they see the opportunities that are available to people that, as you just said, we take for granted every single day.
But like, I went to school with a number of people who were second generation migrants, like their parents had come over.
Totally.
Even more who were third generation. But I went a lot who were second generation, and at no point did I ever even go, oh, their beliefs are a bit different mine. Their views are a bit different, or they're acting a bit different, because they grew up with us. We were the influence on them. We were the main influence on them.
Yeah.
So they took away our culture far more than we took their culture, far more than they tried to impose this culture.
No, totally.
Anyway, I was just neither here nor there.
I get it. I mean, and I've watched more videos over recent times of listening to like people that are Muslim and different faiths, just to see. And most people, like, there's a couple of Muslim guys I've listened to where they're like, whatever's sort of put in front of them, they're like, God is the most forgiving and understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and that's the thing. This is where, like, when people say Islam is dangerous, I think like there's far more, whether it's Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, there's far more moderate religious people that integrate into society and prove that religion isn't dangerous if you're moderate, than there are the right-wing nutters that take it to the extreme.
I just want to say two things. One, the reason I said what I've just said is not just because it's like, those are my views and those are my views, but it's just because as part of that question, when you ask yourself why?
Yeah.
One of the good things that good journalists, good broadcasters ask is, what real world impact have you seen? What real world but that's my real world impact. Those are the first hand experiences that I've had.
No, totally.
So it's not me talking about plucking things out of the air.
I've worked with loads
and going, I've heard this. That was my lived experience.
And I've worked with loads of Tamil people, for example, and they do a really good job. Whether they actually, like, for example, Christmas, if we take that, the thing that's always threatened that we can't talk about it anymore.
Happy holidays.
Yeah, but like, I've talked to so many Tamil people that are Hindus, and whether they choose to celebrate the day of Christmas or not, they'll have a big family gathering where the kids
get into the spirit of it. Yeah.
They might not have turkey, but everyone will cook food and they'll go to a big hall and have a great party, have a drink, have a laugh, have a good time.
Yeah.
Or some of them, they'll cook a Christmas dinner for their kids. So, I don't know, it's always baffled me. Like, anyone who's had their eyes open, who have conversations with people, like, it's very easy to tell that most people that go to live in a country, other than us, ironically, do their best to integrate into the society they move to.
I just said I'll say two things, but I'll now say two things. One, let's not even forget that the fact that Christianity is historically the most dangerous religion on the planet. Even recently in America, you've got Christian Christian-led states that are imposing bans on women's bodies, and that, you know, in these Christian countries that are allowing children to be shot in school, and it's like, that's not the Middle East. No. That's not Yemen. That's not.
This is the most powerful
This is
country
fucking
in the
America.
world.
This is America. Oh. And the second thing I would say on it,
the land of freedom,
is that the people who's, you know, like yourself, we live in a very multicultural part of the world. I've lived with, or I haven't lived with. I've mostly just lived with my family.
No, you're talking about the slaves, aren't you? The people who live,
the workers, the servants.
Freudian slip there, my man.
They're not slaves. They do get a wage. It's not high, but they do get one. I've worked with and lived alongside
Yeah.
and interacted with people from so many different cultures and stuff. The people who's like, don't get me wrong, every now and then there's one or two that you think, oh, your views are quite extreme. But the people whose views scare me the most, the people who I'm the people who I'm more likely to come across who are extremists. Whilst yes, I do come across extremists who are from, for example, I know I've known and worked with quite intimately a West African chap who's got quite extremist views on certain issues.
I'd imagine quite misogynistic. Am I being too stereo?
Yeah, misogynistic, under the guise of chivalry, under the guise of that, but also more than anything, very anti-LGBT. That kind of stuff is really where they show their extremist views.
Yeah.
But I'm far more likely to meet and interact out of all. If I meet 10 Muslims from anywhere in the world, or if I meet 10 West African Christians.
Well, the thing is, you've actually been to refugee camps. You've met and interacted with, I'd imagine, quite a lot of Muslim people in the most disparate of situations. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, only in part, only in fleeting, passing thing. But yeah, but if I met 10 of those, and if I met 10 white British people, I'm far more likely to come across extreme views that worry me in the 10 British people that I meet than in the others.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not just saying that for effect. I know people will listen to me and be like, you're just, woke, liberal.
I find it really difficult to understand how, after the last 14 years, like, we've got a family friend, and they're a family who are very working class. They've done quite well. They live not far from here, maybe a 15-minute, 20-minute drive. Chelsea fans. They're quite very Chelsea fans, by the way. It's a very, like, one of them wants to be buried in their Chelsea shirt and stuff like
Jesus.
that. But one of their kids, who's very similar age to us, she or they, I shouldn't have said she. Fuck it, I've said it now. I'm not going to edit it out. Ran
too much effort, isn't it?
Ran into Rishi Sunak when he was out and about canvassing, and she got a selfie with him. And then she did a post about, I know the Tories have been in power for 14 years, but Rishi's only had 18 months. So why would you vote in Labour when they're going to put your taxes up? And then she started banging on about Paper Mile and how Sadiq Khan's ruining London. And,
mate, yeah, Islamistan.
And my sister couldn't help it, and she ended up, she was going to, like, sort of confront her. And I was like, instead of doing that, I told her about how the same person we were just talking about, when they posted about people on benefits frauds and all that, and I posted back that the benefits fraud was only 3%. I was like, do that, but with this. So an article where Sadiq Khan is quoted multiple times saying Paper Mile's never going to happen. And then for the Sunak thing, he's doing his best sort of thing, post two things of basically what he's been focusing on since being Prime Minister has been lining his and his wife's pockets, and the deals they've made and the decisions he's made and how they correlate. And I was like, you don't need to say any words.
Just post the articles, post the links.
And as you can imagine, they didn't respond. But, like, I find it so difficult to understand how people with the same upbringing as me, in the same social-economic conditions, can just be so... I find it difficult. That's why I want to have conversations with these people, because I'd love to know, is it just you've heard your parents say it, so therefore it's your belief, or is it you've listened to too much Nigel Farage? Like, what is it that's...
Well, you and I are both in a similar... I think we've
because, like, my family aren't particularly left-leaning, to be honest with you. Like, I keep asking people, and it's a question I'd like to ask you, because I don't think I've ever actually asked you it, is what informs your politics? Because, like, my parents weren't particularly politically engaged. They weren't left-leaning. I mean, my dad used to tell me he was a member of the Labour Youth when he was a kid, but he was never politically active in his adult years. And he never really talked to me about politics, and the same for my mum. I mean, the only thing I can think of with my politics, for example, is that it comes from empathy and sympathy, from seeing what the world is like, seeing how other people are going through it, and being able to understand what's going on and what people need, and it's not what's going on at the moment. Like, it feels quite simple to me. So I'd love to know what informs your politics.
I don't know where it comes from, but it's just having a moral conscience. It's being,
because that's how simple it
empathetically-
feels to me most of the time. Is
and that's why I know you've mentioned it before. That's why I can't vote for Labour, because of their stance on, more than anything, their stance on Israel
Are we in the
Gaza.
same constituency? I know I'll probably ask
Yeah.
you this every time.
Yeah,
Well, I've looked at it, the tactical stuff, and we'll be able to get away
Lib
with
Dem.
voting Lib Dem.
yeah,
And that'll most likely get rid of Elliot Colburn.
yeah.
So, and to be honest, as we've discussed off pod while you've been away, and I was a bit dismissive of him. And to be honest with you, he's not really done anything for me to not be dismissive of him anymore. It's just sort of won me over, and that's Ed Davey.
I love Ed Davies' campaign.
He seems very much Marmite, though. Either people love what he's doing or they're really pissed off about it.
See them trying to surface that clip from 2020 or whenever it was of him outside the pub, and they were like, look at this disrespect or whatever. And it's like, you've actually just made him look really fucking cool,
I've
you
not seen
morons.
that one.
It's from like 2020 because they're standing outside their social distancing. They do like an elbow thing rather than and like an art, Twitter's community notes, whatever, has come out and said this is actually from COVID times. But
Right.
he's standing outside a pub at night, someone's talking to him, and he says like, what you've got to be the opposition, mate. You've got to like lead the challenge, lead the change. And he's like, yeah, listen. He said like, yeah, he said, we need a change. He said, not just because of the COVID stuff and the way that's been handled. He says everything. And then he sort of, it's only like 30 seconds a minute, and he ends it by going, to be honest, he says, something along the lines of like, they don't know their arsehole or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was just like, that's meant to damage him.
Yeah.
So you just made him look cool, you morons.
I think the problem is, and I think me and Joe talked about
It's like when
this
they
a
tried to
little
slag off Angela Rayner and they just made her look really cool.
Yeah, with she's the puppeteer behind Keir
Yeah.
Starmer, and it was like, well, to be honest with you, that just makes Angela
She
Rayner
actually
look
looks badass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's actually like working it all from behind the scenes. I don't think that's actually the case.
No, but it looked cool.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, none of the campaigning's been particularly impressive.
No.
A lot's been going on. I've not really engaged with most of the manifestos. It's pointless engaging with the Conservative one because it's not going to happen. The only one worth actually engaging in, to be honest with you, is Labour's.
Also, there's no point Conservative doing the whole, this is what we're going to do. It's like, you've had 14 years.
And you've done
What have
nothing.
you done
Yeah.
other than make the country...
Demonstrably worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. And but even Labour's, to be honest with you, deeply disappointing. There's nothing, everything in there has
Empty.
been mentioned previously. And I was listening to Mick Lynch talk about it, and he was like, it's probably the lightest incoming government manifesto I've ever seen. And like, one of the things I've been struggling with recently as well is like, I feel myself constantly flip-flopping on shit and changing my mind. Like, and part of that is because it's what you want to believe versus reality. And like, it's particularly with Sir Keir Starmer, because the more I watch of him, the less I like what I see.
Yeah. I definitely feel that.
And with the debates, I don't think he did very well. He did an hour with Nick Ferrari on the radio yesterday. Again, didn't do well at all. Didn't answer any questions.
Where do you think what kind of upbringing do you think? Do you know what either of his parents did for a living?
And that's the other thing. Everything loops back to either him being the head of the prosecution service,
Or his dad was
a tool maker and his mum worked for the NHS. And the problem is that just makes you seem like a robot. He doesn't feel approachable in any way. And to loop it back to like the Ed Davey stuff, I think
he looks relaxed.
We're not allowed to see our politicians as anything other than this like stern unit that just, I'm all about politics, I'm all about the people. And they don't come across, like Rishi Sunak does not seem like a human being to me. Because if I was him, I'd have binned it all off. Do you know what I mean? If I had hundreds of millions in the bank and my missus was the heir to the richest man in India, or one of the heirs to the richest man in India, I'd be like, babe, how about I just hand in?
I'll be a trophy husband.
Let's just go. Like, well, honestly, why do you want to put yourself through it? I don't.
Unless it's just you go, Dan might be Prime Minister for a bit.
The problem is though, like we've lined up pockets. We got two more. Like I don't get it. I really. He doesn't know anything.
I don't understand. Never mind Rishi. I don't understand what's happening at the time. I didn't plan on talking about this for this long, but
no, we've done half an hour.
Because we never got a chance to talk about this. I don't think. No, we didn't, because I was away for it. But how was the decision made to let Rishi Sunak leave the D-Day celebrations early to film an interview that wasn't even going to air for another week?
Another week, yeah. I don't know. I've got to be honest with you. When I heard about it, I wasn't appalled like everyone. The more I listened to people talk about it, I was like, okay, yeah, no, look, he's clearly fucked up. For me personally, on the hierarchy of the things he's done, it's quite low down on the list.
But if I was a Tory advisor or whatever role you want to say,
it's a way to alienate your base, though, isn't it?
The first thing I'd say is like, do you know who our voters are? Yeah. All the ones that we haven't pushed away.
All they care about is veterans, unless we need to actually help them.
They have the biggest hard-on for World War II. Like, we should be putting everything into this. You should be going in there like Boris, wearing like a fucking Union Jack tie.
Yeah.
You should be
zip lining in.
Yeah. You should be standing, as soon as you get to the podium to do a little speech.
You should pull out like fucking, what are the flares? I have two like flare rockets in his hand. Just
Just stepping up and singing, "Who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Hitler?" 2 World Wars and 1 World Cup. Doo-dah.
Yeah, I mean,
like, that's your fucking that's your core fan base. It's the biggest misstep that I can genuinely think of that you could have done as a conservative right-wing politician.
Yeah. No, totally. I agree with everything you're saying, but
who let that happen?
I don't know. It must have just been him. I can only assume. But
because when he got to the interview as well, there's that
none
clip.
of it makes sense. That's the problem. Like, it means at every level of organisation, someone fucked up. Or that just whoever was underneath Rishi just overrode anyone who gave him it. Like, are you sure we should be? You know, we could reschedule this. They've said we can push it to tomorrow. I sort of put the feelers out, and they've gone, no, don't be silly. We've done the UK bit. We've shown up at Normandy. We're just gonna, duck out early. No one's even gonna notice I've left.
Yeah, no one's gonna care.
Yeah,
no one will care.
Oh, how wrong they were.
Just like, yeah.
I mean, like I said, my initial reaction was like, okay, like
and when he gets to...
I'm still not particularly offended by it.
When ITV released the clip of him arriving for the interview, and the guy was like... Yeah, and he was like, oh, hi, Prime Minister. And he went, oh, sorry for being late. And he was like... And the guy actually said, he was like, no, like, I get you do it Normandy.
Shit going on.
Says, it was probably very moving. Rishi might as well have said, like, I don't know, mate, to be honest. I'll read about it later. Yeah. It looked quite emotional, but I binned it off.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, the guy just set him up. It wasn't even like, come on, Robert. It's like, no, you've... Listen, it's a very important thing. I get it.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, it's not that important, is it?
But it's all right. He's apologised.
Yeah.
No, I think it's going to be...
He had a tough upbringing as well.
Well, he didn't have Sky.
Yeah. He had to
Look,
wait for The Simpsons on Channel 4 like the rest of us.
I feel his pain. I didn't have Sky growing up.
I had it at a certain point.
But I think we got it when I was in like my teenage years. Maybe.
Yeah.
But for most of my childhood, like I've said before, like our first television was this big brown box with dials on it and an antenna on the top. Like, it weren't flat screens and like Amazon Fire Sticks and.
And it's brutal as well when you get to like when we were growing up, there was 5 channels, and you get to the 5th one and you're like, "There's nothing on. I've just got to start again and hope that something's changed."
Yeah. Yeah, and like we used to...
And you never got to Channel 5. If you got to Channel 5, you were fucking desperate.
Yeah. And I loved how we used to illegally download stuff back then with your video recorder.
Oh, yeah.
And like a Disney film might come on and you're like, shit, video in. That was the way we did it.
You've recorded a late night movie and you've also got the news in the middle of your film. Speaking of the news... much as I disagree with what they've done, I've got to give huge respect to Just Stop Oil for rather than waiting for us to record an episode for doing something stupid.
Just before.
For doing it an hour before we started.
I was literally sat on the toilet when it popped up on my Twitter. And immediately, I'm not going to lie to you, my reaction was cunts. Like, that, genuinely, and then I was like, there's no way they've used paint that stains, because if they have, they've lost any support I ever have for them. But literally, as soon as I clicked on the tweet, the first thing underneath was a comment from them saying this will wash away very easily with the rain. So it was like cornstarch-based paint or something that will wash away quite easily. And I was like, all right, I can calm down now and not.
But
I don't know why. I think I know why that annoyed me more than any of the other stuff I've seen them do. And it was because with all the other stuff, I didn't feel like there was any permanent damage being done.
there was no risk of damage.
If it was a painting, it was covered by like 10 inches of something. And
or if it was a building, it was a relatively new
all
building.
I saw was these two people with spray paint canisters just plastering Stonehenge.
I've not even seen it. Do you know what's mad is, though? I was there yesterday.
Were you actually?
Yeah.
How was it?
I've literally just messaged my passengers and been
And
like...
you didn't feel the urge to paint it?
Always a little bit.
Yeah.
There's always a little bit of... Let's do a little painting. Oh, do you know what I did do, though?
What?
So we went to the Jane Austen Centre in Bath. And...
There's a Jane Austen Centre?
She lived there for a few years.
Oh,
It's like a museum. But it's cool. You get to dress up, take pictures in your Bridgerton era. Yeah, the camera got that, by the way.
That's
on
it
camera.
happens.
But then there's also a chance to write with a quill and ink, a little note. So
I like Bridgerton. I like a period drama.
I couldn't help myself. I just, as soon as I saw the ink and the quill, I was like, let me cook.
How bad was it? Because I've seen your handwriting.
Oh no, the handwriting was bad. I just started writing the first verse of Stan by Eminem. I was like, dear Slim.
I wrote you, but you stayed at Cardiff. I left my name, my home, my phone number all at the bottom.
I mean, like, I'll be honest, I only got through like a couple of lines because I was
Yeah.
just like, fuck, this is hard work on my handwriting shit. But there's like a little line over the fireplace where you can hang up all your messages, and so many of them are so lovely, and they're like, thanks for, inspiring future generations of women and writers and whatever. And somebody just
And
like,
you've
oh
just
my God,
written-
we've loved our time Bath. And I've just written the opening lines to Stan. I just hung it front and centre as well. I was like, that's going right in the fucking middle.
The really nice thing is you'd like to think whoever works in the Jane Austen Centre, it's unlikely they're a big Eminem fan, and they're going to read that and just be so confused.
Just couldn't help myself.
By the way, Elton John is far better than Dido on that song.
Do you think?
It's not even questionable.
Dido's the OG though.
Yeah, but like, "Tears I'm hard, wondering why."
Yeah,
It's different. It's different.
I wanted to say, I was going to take a picture. And be
Plus, I like the gays, Jake.
You do like the gays.
I do like the gays.
You do like the gays. Do you know why? Because they're not women, and I think that's key to your misogynistic issue.
Trust you to find a way to spin my LGBTQ plus loving ways into something
The
negative.
gays get it as well. They just want other dudes. They know they don't want women. You know that.
No, but the thing is, the immortal issue of my life is that I love women.
Too much. Too much.
I'm a bit like, is it Lenny from Mice of Men? I just want to give them all the love in the world.
Are you saying you committed murder?
Not on pod.
No. Oh, shit.
Allegedly.
Fiddling around with the wire.
What are you unplugging?
Nothing, I just fiddled.
Fuck, we've done 40 minutes, bro. I wasn't... We've not talked about anything,
Covered
really.
Stonehenge.
I tell you what, there's someone that wanted
actually,
to call out.
Just Stop Oil covered Stonehenge, but we covered the covering of
Yeah, so
Stonehenge.
how do you feel about that?
I don't like it. I think going after like the rich people, and like you said, going after like stuff that I know is protected.
Yeah.
Even though Stonehenge, like, even though that'll wash off and stuff, Stonehenge isn't protected. There's a
No.
fucking little rope around it the whole way round. Like, that is not... It's different than going after the Mona Lisa that's behind a big fuck-off pane of glass.
This has made me have a thought, though. I've developed a potentially dangerous habit when I come and visit stuff.
Do you masturbate?
No, it started with Harry Potter World, right? And
Is that... how does that compare to Shrek World?
far better.
Better?
Much better. I'm a big Harry Potter fan. I'm a pothead, you might say. I just love wizards. What can I say? But when I was there, and I can't remember if I did it the first time, one of the times I was with Leanne, or if it started when we took my nephew. But I've started touching stuff.
I'm a toucher.
Yeah, bro. Nothing gets me more excited than touching stuff I know I'm not supposed to.
And do you know what I particularly love about...
And I think it comes from How I Met Your Mother, the episode where they go around the museum just touching shit.
The thing I particularly love about old stuff, like old buildings, old artifacts and stuff, is that I'm touching history. I'm touching something that someone else has touched.
It's not that.
Hundreds of years ago. No, it's not that for you.
me. I'm just not supposed to be doing it.
But I'm a fiddler as well. I
I've heard
don't mean
about you. I've heard that about you. That's why you're not allowed near schools, isn't it?
Yeah. That's why I'm well sought after in the Irish music community. But
yeah.
But I love touching. Like, I find myself just touching things before I even know I've touched things. And like, I have been in museums and the staff have come over and told me to stop touching things or like get off of things.
The thing is, I've not been to
I didn't even
museum
realise
since I started this. So
I didn't even realise I was doing it. I didn't even realise I was touching until the staff come over and go, "Can you not touch
thank
the
God you
artifacts?"
haven't
I'm like,
actually got this issue with women. Do you know what I mean?
I didn't even know I was touching you, babe.
I
Sorry.
didn't even realise I had my hand on your tit. But yeah, and I've got my nephew into it as well.
Dangerous.
Because there was genuinely, in one of the moments, I was so proud of it. I'm in Harry Potter world, and there's 2 members of staff around like this pillar that's got different artifacts around the pillar. And I'm stood between them, and there's crowds of people, and they the goblet of fire, or the thing his name comes out of in the goblet of fire. And I'm just stood there, and I'm literally, the person's here with their back to me, like the member of staff, and then there's another one a couple of steps the other way behind me, and I'm touching it. And then I walked away, and I was just like, and then the thing me and my nephew started doing is to one up the other one. We have to touch it more than once, and like, because I touched it, he touched it, and then I go, I touched it twice.
You're basically playing like a very touchy game of bogeys.
Yes, absolutely. And it's basically trying to see if you can get caught.
Yeah.
And touch wood.
Not yet.
So far, I'm yet to be caught. You watch my face; it's going to be plastered all over the Natural History Museum. Do not let this man in.
No, I'm glad you're on the touching thing. I'm a big toucher.
I did it at Lapland. I was touching stuff you're not supposed to touch. And
no, you've got to be careful because those bouncers are really. Oh, you mean Lapland, the country?
Like the Santa sleigh, bro.
Santa's Lapland.
Like you were allowed to.
I thought you meant Lapland down in Sutton.
No,
you know the one where you got to go up the stairs.
No, not the private club.
No, not the gentleman's club.
No, not that one.
Not that Lapland.
No, the Santa one.
Because you can't touch in there.
No,
I found that out the hard way.
That's one of the rules. Yeah.
Not in Canada, apparently. I still want to go to a Canadian strip club just to find out if that's true. I don't even like strip clubs.
No, honestly, nothing annoyed me more. Right, I had to listen to you and Ash. I don't know how many years from between Tenerife to you guys going to the US, right? Talking about how when you got there, you were going to go to Canada, go to a strip club, and try and find this Canadian woman and see if what she told you was true. And then you fuckers went there and didn't go to the strip club. And I was like, so I've listened to
Can I just say, to be fair, we'd literally just come out of COVID. Like, there were still COVID restrictions in place when we went.
So wear a mask while you're getting a lap dance. How do you do a lap dance COVID compliant?
Well, I don't think you can. I think they're all shut.
Fair enough. But I wasn't impressed.
But like genuinely, I strip clubs are horrendous.
So yeah, I'm a toucher at places you shouldn't be a toucher.
Like strip clubs.
Yeah.
Or schools.
Well, no, not strip clubs or schools. I'm not you. Just like places where they've got artifacts and
cool stuff.
Like
Filming
locations. I want
locations.
to touch Dumbledore's desk. It was slightly out of reach. There was too many people there, but it's an aim for one of the times.
Yeah. The cane from Citizen Kane. You want to touch it?
Yeah. Why not?
I get it.
Yeah. And then and part of that, I guess, is slightly that, oh yeah, like Daniel Radcliffe might, or like Richard Harris, or not Richard Harris, Gambon might have touched.
Or Richard Harris.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But it's mostly I'm just not supposed to be doing it.
Yeah, okay, so yours is more, but mine's a connection to
it's a bit like
other people.
Stealing a pack of sweets from a supermarket. It just gives you a bit of a buzz. Do you know what I mean? Just
depends how much sugar's in it.
Oh, that felt good. Like you're getting one over.
Yeah. So how you see it as in your sort of like habitual criminal lifestyle.
Mate, you're the one who's famously said you pick and choose what laws and rules you follow.
Yeah, but I don't steal things.
Well, neither do I anymore. I did it when I was younger.
All right, yeah. I mean, don't get like you can't actually get close enough to touch anything at Stonehenge.
I would find a way.
I wanted to.
I'd find a way.
I literally went around the whole thing just looking for like the shortest gap between the rope and the.
Yeah, I feel like
stones.
I have more of an advantage in that situation than yourself.
Yeah, I don't think you appreciate how far away the rope is from the stones.
Yeah,
you're extra like foot or whatever you've got on me.
They've probably thought about it, I'm sure. But maybe I'd get you to trip me up and I fall over the rope and touch it.
Or like a comedy fall, because they're they're a solid distance away. I mean, like if the rope's sort of where your sofa is, the stones are sort of they're beyond the back door.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's scary.
So you'd have to do like a.
Can we sneak there at night? Can we sneak up there at night?
Fall in. probably
And what
can.
did the security look like up there?
Oh, you could take them.
No, I mean, how robust? Are we talking Fort Knox, or are we talking like, I don't know?
Nah, there's like a country lane that
local
goes alongside it
supermarket.
that you can walk past. That you hop a little fence.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's fine.
Maybe that's something we need to plan.
That's fine. Not that I
Would you
advocate
do it?
this. Would I do it? Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
Yeah, I probably would.
yeah. Come on, you'd want to touch Stonehenge.
I do want to touch Stonehenge.
Yeah, we don't even know how it was built or who built it,
No, we just know roughly when it was built.
and that's from stuff found around the site.
Impressive.
Yeah. Okay, why not?
All right,
One of the
Stonehenge.
people I wanted to call out, right? This was something I wanted to talk about. Not to get fully back into Israel Palestine, but do you know who David Raymond is?
David Raymond.
He's
no.
the lead singer of Disturbed. I don't know how big a fan of
Okay.
Disturbed.
I know
you are.
Disturbed.
It turns out he's a Zionist, and he did a post yesterday, I believe it was, at time of recording, where he was visiting Israel, and he signed a missile for some IDF soldiers, and took a selfie while doing it.
Fucking, that's a bit Tony Stark. Pre-Iron Man.
Was even worse than Tony Stark. Tony Stark weren't signing the bomb, was he?
Kind of thing he'd have done, though.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, and it was like, the description was like, visiting Israel, hashtag IDF with a love heart, and then hashtag fuck Hamas. And it was just like, oh, man.
Yeah, it's not good.
No. And I was just like, it's just fucking ruined Disturbed for me. There's a few of their songs I'm quite fond of.
Yeah, but that's like Lost Prophets. Like, I've not really listened to much Lost Prophets since
Yeah,
it.
there's there's two songs of Lost Prophets that I'm quite sad.
Is it Rooftops? One of them.
Rooftops, and one of them's called Can't Stop, Got a Date with Hate. And it's because one of the lines in it is, Andy, you're a goonie. It's the chorus of the song. It's not just one line, it's like the chorus.
I like Last Train, I think it's called as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, sad, isn't it?
It is interesting though, because we've had the conversation
Separating
of
art and artist.
but that's one that just seems to transcend every, like, if you do shit to babies, mate, you're like, we can't.
It's also like, I liked Lost Prophet song, but I would never say I was like absolutely
I think
adored,
that's how
loved
most
them.
people felt about them, to be
But
fair.
whereas like the music of like Michael Jackson is like a
See,
bit
I
more
don't
core.
feel as strongly about Michael Jackson. I wouldn't not listen to his music, but
No,
like, I love Earth Song. That's actually probably my favourite Michael Jackson
but
song.
like I
And as
really,
much for the video as anything else.
I really connect with Michael Jackson's music. I like Lost Prophet songs, but I could go without listening to them. But if you
Yeah.
said you can never listen to some of the Michael Jackson songs, you're like, that'd be a bit tougher.
Yeah.
That'd be a bit tougher. Plus, they're more ingrained in society, I guess.
Yeah, you don't hear him on the radio as much, though. You do occasionally.
Depends what music stations you listen to.
Yeah.
But they're quite keen not to play it too much.
But yeah, I just wanted to say fuck David Raymond.
Fair.
David Draymond, sorry.
That's fair. I'd like to talk about a little bit
Please.
about something in football quickly.
By the way, if anyone thinks Jake's come across slightly distracted, it's because he is. The football's on in the background of the podcast.
In my defence, I'm always a little bit distracted.
Normally just because of how good I look.
It's just not fair. People shouldn't be able to look that good and have that much talent. It's not on.
It is what it is.
It's not on.
The world, we're not created equal.
It's not
I
even
know.
like you're short to pants it out or something.
No,
Ridiculous.
I know.
Absolutely ridiculous. But, nevertheless, I
Hit
want
me.
to call out something. I will not call out. I just want to challenge something in football. Like, I think it's about time we try and start a revolution whereby acknowledging that, because it's sort of mostly accepted in coaching and management. Not entirely. We know that. There's still issues with what I'm about to say, but
Oh, I think I know what you're going to talk about.
because I tweeted it.
No, I just know
Oh.
what one of the things you're most passionate about
Well,
in
look,
football.
so it's that this is it. It's that punditry and commentary, like management and coaching, is a skill.
Oh, no,
No,
you're not going to
this
talk
not-
about what I thought you were going to talk about.
Playing at the top level does not necessarily qualify you to
Well,
be
no, of
or
course
mean
it
that you're going to
doesn't.
be good at it. So in management, there's plenty of top level players that have tried their hand at it and been
just aren't
shit.
any good.
And unfortunately,
even
a lot of
Gerrard.
them do still get jobs. But it's the same in like commentary and punditry. When you get, for example, during the Europa League, I think it was, and we had, I've got to get this right, I think it was either Rafa Honigstein or James Horncastle. It was one of those that came and stepped up and talked about Atalanta. and they gave like a 2.5 minute chat. It was in depth. It was insightful. It was easy to understand.
Added
it was communicated well. It was actually a helpful way to look at something that a lot of us maybe didn't know about. It was actually insightful. It was actually analytical.
Yeah.
And easy to understand. Like I said, it wasn't just bogged down with a load of, I'm going to use a load of phrases and buzzwords and hope that you don't understand that I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Made a world of difference. And then you get people like Rio Ferdinand, who think that football doesn't exist outside of Old Trafford, to the point where
who's absolutely fine with Mason.
He will defend
a
rapist.
Mason Greenwood back if he gets to have a chat with him.
defends rapists.
Yeah.
And will act as if, Mark Gahey, I know they all did it, but Mark Gahey played really well in the England's opening game.
Yeah.
And he was one of the big ones. And they were all doing it a bit, but he was one of the big ones that was like, this guy, wow, can't believe it. It's like he's been one of the best
in the league
for the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. But particularly this season, he's had a very good season.
Like he's come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Fucking hasn't. And more than that, you have people like Danny Murphy, who in the game between Portugal and who did they just narrowly beat the other day? Can't remember. But I just remember the team being so desperate to lose the game. Czechia. Shocking. Absolutely shocking. But Rafa Leao went down, and Danny Murphy, the ref blew his whistle, and Danny Murphy went, yes, a good decision from the ref there. That giving a free kick, very smart, good call. Walks over, books Leao for diving, and immediately Danny Murphy goes, yeah, that's a great call from the ref. Yeah, that's a great call from the ref. Brilliant decision, definitely. And it's like, mate, have some fucking dignity. At least wait to see a replay.
Is that the same game where, do Portugal win in the last, few minutes, and it's quite a big goal, and, the person he's co-commentating with, it's a lady, she gets all, animated, and he just goes, yeah.
No, I don't remember that, if that is it.
I saw a clip of that on Twitter where it was like, she's proper animated, going, oh my, he's the... And then Danny Moses goes, yeah, as it hits the back of the net, and then says nothing else.
But you get people like that who've played at the top level, as much as I don't say Danny Murphy has, but he played at the top level.
Yeah.
Ferdinand's obviously played at a slightly higher level, but doesn't mean they're good at it.
No.
And we need to start demanding more, because then also you get people like Fabregas came in and made some really good, insightful points and was very passionate about what he was saying. And I just I want to start demanding more as a viewer, rather than just having these shit people who are there just because they were there. And it's like, it's fine for someone like Michael Richards, who is definitely coming along as a pundit. I still think he's got a lot of blind spots, but he's coming along. Yeah. But he offers a shit ton of personality.
Yeah, he's the vibe guy of the broadcast a lot of the time.
Roy Keane, again, is another one that doesn't think football exists really outside of, Old Trafford and the top six. But again, makes up for it with personality. It's a different kind of personality.
Defense, slightly more to do with their knowledge of the smaller teams. I engage with a lot of football content, less so as actually watching football. And the amount of time given to smaller teams is so much more reduced in comparison. Man United had a shocking season last season, but I know far more about what's going on with Man United. And that's from all platforms. It's not just a Sky bias or anything. All of them do it. Whether it's the Guardian, Football Weekly, Palace could have won 4-0 at the weekend. But Man United, whatever their result is, whether they've won, lost or draw, they're going to get 10, 15 minutes of the podcast, and Palace are going to get 2. Yeah. And that's not just Palace, it's with all of the smaller teams. Slight exception this year, I would say, maybe Luton. Luton got a bit more coverage than I've seen other smaller teams.
Villa got a little bit more as well.
Yeah, Villa, to be fair to them, though, extraordinary season, but particularly the first half of the season. And by the way, one of the things I can't wait to do, we're going to have to schedule it in at some point, is have Ash back on so we can go. I've still got the notebook where I've recorded our predictions.
What we predicted.
So I'd love for us to go through that and see how well we did.
Yes, please.
I've seen that I've got it, but I've not
checked it
because I'd love to do that with you guys. But yeah, I feel like the coverage in general about the smaller teams is, and the thing is, it sort of makes sense because the bigger clubs are the draw. They're the ones with the bigger fan bases, so more people want to know about them.
And worldwide as well. But
it would serve, some of my favourite football pundits are people that most people would have probably never heard of. They work and they cover like Italy, or they cover Spain or Scandinavia or something like that. And they're some of the more insightful and knowledgeable pundits. And it's because they have a wider knowledge base of football.
Well, that's it. When you look at like Clive Tilsley, and I don't know if you remember a few years ago, he shared that video of his notes he'd prepared before a game, and it was extensive. He managed to pack a lot on. There was like a couple of, but he had a little bit about their seasons, their records, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, so he always has something
very
to hand that he can.
The co-commentary, which I appreciate, is a different position than a commentator. It's like a driver and a co-driver. But it is a slightly different skill set. But some of these watch these tournaments and they act as if these players have like they're like, oh yeah, like this could be, you know, he's really putting himself in the window, and it's like he's just had the fucking best season at like, but it's in AC Milan, you know, it's in Italy, but you don't know that it existed. It's shit like that, and it bothers me greatly.
No, I completely
and we deserve
agree.
more.
I completely agree. I think, again, part of the problem is probably Sky. I think it's very Premier League centric. Yeah. So, like, my only exposure to La Liga, Serie A, even Liga, is through podcasts that happen to have people that cover it. And to be fair, I just criticise it, but it's mainly stuff like The Guardian, Football Weekly. They'll have someone on who is just there to talk about Serie A or La Liga or whatever.
But it's just, like, you know, I know you've mentioned we've got the Euros on in the background, but even like this, it's like I said, you've got players that have had great careers, great seasons, whatever, and the commentators don't know, the co-commentators don't know the fuck they are. And it's
I think,
bro, I know it's tough because it's competition football and the games come thick and fast, but
so
at least spend half the day in the build up to the commentary,
having a look at stuff,
reading through even just fucking Wikipedia the players, for fuck's sake, to see where they've, you know, do you know what I mean? Get some kind of knowledge, please.
Yeah,
please do some research. Take the job seriously.
Well, do you think
do
part
some
of
fucking
that
research?
Is perhaps the better pundits tend to have had a background in journalism.
Yeah,
usually.
Oh, definitely.
Like Laura Wood's one of the best pundits out there.
Definitely. Like I said, the two that I mentioned, Horncastle and Honigstein.
Like, they tend to be people that have either spent a lot of time with journalists or as a journalist or doing something to do with journalism, whether they were doing interviews with people where they had to heavily research, even if it was just a 15-minute interview with Jose Mourinho, the hours of research they'll do so that 15 minutes is full of content.
I guess it's a joint gripe. It's a gripe with the broadcasters for keep picking these people, and it's also a gripe with these people for not taking the job seriously, for just thinking they can just turn up, you know, for an 8 o'clock kickoff, turn up at 10 to 8 and be like, right, let's go, and have had absolutely no prep, no research. Take it fucking seriously. Same as the punditry.
I think part of the problem as well, right, is if you think about the most viral football pundits we've had last 5-10 years, the first lot was Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher. And you wouldn't have necessarily, based off their careers, if you'd have just taken them in isolation when they retired, have gone, these are the two we're making the face of Sky going forward. It wouldn't have necessarily made sense. But for some reason, putting them two together created a good thing for Sky. So it's random, so it's not necessarily something you can predict.
No,
Then you get Roy Keane, Micah Richards, and people like Thierry Henry or whoever, and throw them together. And again, it's just magic. And you wouldn't, again, in isolation, gone, oh yeah, we take
for
these
sure.
people.
Chemistry is good, but like,
but in terms of commentary, they could definitely put more.
A good example is when they get any women's games, particularly just even big game like women international games, and they get Ian Wright on the punditry. He actually watches the sport.
Oh, he loves women's football.
And it shows. Because when he talks about it, he knows what he's talking about. He's talking about their seasons.
And whenever I've heard him talk about it, he's so passionate as well.
I mean, Ian Wright's got personality and he's got a passion, and it comes across. But
I love Wrighty.
Like, he genuinely, it shows that he's watched it and he knows what he's talking about. But when I watch all the other fucking pundits and commentators and stuff, co-commentators, it's clear that they don't have a fucking clue what they're talking about. And I hate it. Anyway, that's my thing. I like it.
I like it. I dig it. I'm on board.
I thought you would be.
Give us better pundits and commentators.
Yes, please.
It's funny.
Take it seriously.
Making, to a degree, take out the misogyny, the the Joey Barton argument. If you completely take out the misogyny side of it, of women getting opportunities they shouldn't get, you're saying I want an improved pundit and commentator class where it's not just your name that gets you through the door, it's your ability to do the job.
And that's where I think some of the women have done quite well, because of misogyny, they have actually had to
100%
put the work in to be a better pundit or commentator or whatever.
Yeah, like you can't look at someone like Laura Woods and say she hasn't earned the
100%.
opportunity she's got. So no, like we've always said from the beginning, we have no issue with women being involved in the game or having voices in the game, because there's some of the best ones out there, and like there's more women than there are men. So like there's going to be a lot of women into football.
Just want to demand more. I just want people to take it seriously and stop thinking you can just throw someone in there because they've got a name or they played at a top club. Should
famous people do or like use their platform to stand up for things they believe in more? Do they have a responsibility? The reason I asked that is Mbappe recently came out and basically said he's very concerned about the rise of the right in his country, and that should they succeed, he wouldn't actually want to represent his nation anymore.
No, he wouldn't for his shirt represented him. Yeah.
So there's two questions, I guess, in there. One, what did you think about what he said? And two, do you think more people should take these sort of stances?
I think it's entirely up to those people, because I do appreciate that when you're on a big platform, yes, whilst you do have, as I can't remember who was asked about it, but they said, he's got a, he holds a lot of weight. His words carry a lot of weight, and there's a lot of responsibility. But also the kickback is that you're going to be targeted by a lot of people for what you say. So if you come out, particularly now with the split in the last 10 years, 15 years of the right and the left, now it seems like you've got to be so extreme. And I do think social media has played like one of the biggest roles in that, and the rabbit hole that it sucks people into, and that not the bubble. It's the bubble. You just the echo chamber. That's the phrase. You just get trapped with people with your own views.
Do you not feel like we don't hold ourselves to a high enough standard when it comes to that at the same time?
Oh, for sure. It all plays into it. I'm just saying one of the...
Yeah.
But he comes out and says that, but then a lot of people that are on the right are going to target him, whereas if I come out and say it, a lot of people on the right are not going to be coming for me. So I appreciate that. It's entirely up to, I think it's entirely up to the people, but I fully support the ones that do want to come out and make that statement, because, we've talked about this before when there was the whole discussion around the COVID times about, keep sport out of politics. It's like, no, politics is directly impacts every single aspect of life. So every single person who's a part of society gets to comment on politics. That's the deal.
Yeah.
So I fully support people who do. I would like it if a few more people came out and threw their out, but equally, like I said, I would prefer it if more people at the top came out and said, look, I'm learning, educate yourselves, look for research the topic and make your own minds up. I think that would be a better, more impactful way to do it without also directly coming out and position yourself. How do you feel about it?
I'm torn on it. I like the fact Mbappe did it. I've never been a particularly big fan of his. He's always come across like a bit of a prima donna from what I've heard, but again, I don't know enough about him. I like the fact he did what he did and what he said. He's clearly more left-leaning than I would have probably assumed. In terms of whether other people should do it, I guess it's on your conscience. It depends, because it's not necessarily fair to say that a footballer in his mid-20s, whether it's Mbappe or anyone else, that's earning millions from sponsorships and stuff like that, to come out and potentially say things that could lose them a lot of money.
Or look at Colin Kaepernick losing his entire career.
For taking a knee, for standing up for black people. So, but I do think sometimes... I'd like to think if I was in that position, I would. I don't know if that's the case. It's different for us because, say, like this podcast took off and we became household names, we would still be talking about the things we're talking about now. Yeah,
that's how it got us there.
Exactly. So it's different for us. I don't know if it's fair to expect someone who's not engaged with politics to engage with politics that publicly just because I'd like them to. But I'd like it if more people wanted to. I don't think there's enough sane voices out there. I mean, the big problem for me more than anything is the media sets the narrative for social media, in my opinion, for the divisiveness. We live in an era where people can just say whatever they like, particularly politicians, and they can go and sit for an hour with Nick Ferrari and not really be held to account. Like, he'll question them, but
Nick Ferrari is one of them that wants to, he's got a list of questions he wants to get through.
Yeah, and I get that, but for me, if on the first question, the politician, let's say we had a politician, like Elliot Colburn came on here and we were talking to him, and I asked him, how is it a gay man from a working class family, a couple of streets over from me, be a Tory? And he gave me some sort of wishy-washy answer. I wouldn't move forward until I got an answer.
I would rather...
Or on whatever question it was.
For me, as an interviewer, I'd rather challenge one question for the whole hour we've got together.
And risk him walking out because...
Because what I'd keep saying is, when I'm not going to proceed with the interview until you take it or seriously or respect the audience, never mind me, respect the audience enough to start telling the truth.
Yeah.
And if you're going to start just giving us, brand answers and party lines, that's not what I'm asking you. I'm not asking you to deliver a manifesto for the party. I'm asking you this question. So until you answer it, we're not going to move on.
Yeah. That's
for me, how I'd want to approach
I view that as integrity. Like, that's...
Thank you.
No, but like, I'm agreed. Like, it's just... And the thing is, he might even come back and be uncomfortable with the way I propositioned the question. I don't know. Yeah. But if he then came back and said something like, well, actually, I don't feel comfortable engaging it on those terms, but this is why I believe in the Conservatives and whatever, and like actually gave me answers, I'd be fine. Whether I agree with the answers or not.
No, but as long as he answers.
But if he was answering, it's fine.
That's the point of an interview. You don't do it to get answers
I have
you agree with.
Again, I've got another bone in.
You want authenticity.
Yeah, and I don't like that during a debate they can spout off whatever they like and no one in the room is going, actually, by the way, we've just fact checked what you said, this is the truth, what's your response? And if they don't give an answer, be like, okay. And the other thing is they need to fucking mute people when they're debating.
Yeah.
I do not understand how, because there's just no control. Like the first one between Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer, like Sunak just ended up just yelling over Starmer the majority of the time. And then Starmer was doing it in return.
That was the one where Starmer just dropped the bomb, though, didn't he? He didn't respond to the £2,000.
Yeah, he waited.
And then the next day was like, oh, by the way, here's a link from your own people that said, do not quote £2,000. Do you think that would have been more
impactful if he'd have like just literally pulled the letter? Thanks,
100%.
Richie, by the way.
100%.
Here's a letter, by the way. Let me read it to you.
Yeah.
It's from... And then I think that would have had far more impact than letting the media do it for
you.
him.
100%. Doing it there and then.
Yeah, and like just genuinely see what he says. Be like, would you like to read it? It's from one of the head civil servants. He's probably sent it to you himself, but in case you lost the copy, here you go.
Well, that's what you'd say, wouldn't you? You'd say, it appears, Prime Minister, in your continuation to quote this £2,000 that perhaps you've lost your copy of this letter
maybe
that was sent by a senior
Maybe you need to fire a couple of aides.
I think you need to read it. Yeah. It was aimed at you.
Yeah. I mean...
Anyway.
Do you know the other thing I did? And this is proper random.
I love random.
And it's politics based. I went back, because we've talked about Tony Blair in passing in the past, but I realised I didn't actually know a lot about what he actually did, like while in power.
Apart from the Iraq stuff, quite well, to be honest.
Well, the first term, it's unarguable it was a huge success. He implemented social economic change, all sorts of reforms that improved the country, markedly improved the country. But as soon as that second term ends and Afghanistan and Iraq starts kicking off, it just all goes to shit, more or less. He gets nothing else done after the first term, really. He gets a couple of things through, but by and large, he spends the next 2 terms
committing war crimes
and fighting for his political life,
yeah.
And then the 2008 crash happens and it all just goes to shit.
And
then 14 years later, we are where we are now. So yeah, like it was interesting because like it's so far from where we are now, and I mean in terms of like what Labour are offering. like, we're so far removed from New Labour and the borderline socialism that was being offered at the time, and we've now got a Labour Party that I can't argue anymore is planning to do anything really positive. I mean, I hope to God I'm wrong. I hope they get in and back off there, because basically what they've said is they're not going to break any of the fiscal rules the Tories have set in place for the next Parliament until they do their own budgets, till the autumn budget. So however long that is, we're going to stick to what the Tories have been doing. And apparently, like, I think 3 weeks after they get into power, we're going to be on recess anyway. So
summer break.
Basically, nothing's going on for quite a while. And yeah, I can't argue that Starmer's someone we can believe in anymore or have any hope in.
That'd be my view.
So our political messiah has become Ed Davey. I think that's what we've boiled it down to.
Yep. Yeah.
And those are words I never thought
to
would.
quote Danny Murphy, yeah.
Speaking of Danny Murphy, he probably has one of the best political rants in history, doesn't he, when he talks about David Cameron. And Jeremy Corbyn's just sat there on the panel with, so where the fuck is he? He sat somewhere in Monaco with his trotters up, laughing.
Oh, Danny Dyer.
Yeah. Who did you say?
Danny Murphy.
Oh, sorry.
I was doing the commentary thing. No,
my apologies. I misheard you.
I was doing the commentary
thing. You said
thing.
Danny Dyer because you sort of said it a bit cockney.
Because
so.
you know when he went to school, when she was like, "Oh my God, what a goal!" and he just went, "Yeah." No, Danny Dyer, yeah, when he was putting his trotters up, he's a twat, whatever he called him.
Yeah. With his trotters up in Monaco.
Ruined this country, yeah.
Where the fuck is he?
I'll tell you where he is.
He's in the House of Lords.
And in the cabinet. Yeah. And taking Rishi Sunak's place at the D-Day celebrations in Normandy. Yeah. So he looks great in those photos.
He looks really
he's come out very well.
He looks like a leader, doesn't
he? Yeah.
Have you seen the blowback on The Boys season 4? I've not actually
seen
watched
the what?
It yet.
Sorry, the what? The blow what? No, I have. Yeah, it's this realization. It's this sudden realization from the people on the right. Not when I say people on the right, I don't mean people. I mean internet people on the right.
Yeah.
Not normal people.
No,
because as we've said before, most people are centre right, centre left.
Yeah.
Internet people on the right who suddenly realise that they're the targets of The Boys.
Yeah.
What do you call it when you satire?
Yeah,
they're the ones being satirised.
The satirical version of your MAGA guys, the people that get swept up. Like
when you watch it before
fever.
The first 3 seasons, legitimately, I'm watching it. I'm like, I can tell. Yeah, they're making fun of.
Do you know what's funny? I never really thought about it. It was only when, and I saw it got really bad reviews, and my instinct reaction was they must have just got new writers and it's gone to shit. And then when I looked into it, I saw the whole thing of it's just loads of right-wing people that have suddenly cottoned on.
And here's the other thing, is that in season 2, I'm pretty sure it was season 2, my sense of time's terrible, they had an actual Nazi.
Yes.
Who the company defended.
Yeah.
And Homelander latched onto and defended. It's how the fuck do you not realise this is you? Allying up with...
are we the baddie?
You're allying up with actual Nazis, which is what you guys are doing in real life at the moment, by the way.
Yeah.
You're actually getting along with the Nazi groups and being like, yeah, we're, they're not, and then saying they're not Nazis. And I can't think Stormfront, I think her name is, in the thing. She actually says a line where it was like, dude, how do you not realise this is about you? Because she actually says a line, she says, a lot of people actually agree with the ideology. They just don't like the word Nazi.
Yeah.
That's you. You're literally all saying these Nazi things and then going, it's not Nazi.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Almost word for word.
Yeah.
It's Nazi ideology. And how the fuck do you not get this issue? But for some reason, I think The Boys may have been... I haven't seen it yet because I've been away.
No, I've not watched any. I'm saving it up because they're doing it weekly.
And binging it. I feel like the suggestion is that The Boys are a little less subtle this season.
Okay. Well, they've only got one more season after this one, haven't they, apparently? The 5th will be the last.
So apparently they're a little less subtle this season, and the right are starting to realise that it's about them.
Do you think it would have... Because sometimes...
What do you make of it?
I think it's funny. I think it just shows... I mean, it just confirms, really.
When you thought back, did you see it? Did you think, oh, yeah, no, the right have been the target?
yeah.
There was the occasional swipe.
I
at the
never
left.
really had to have the thought about it because, like, you just sort of knew that's what was like. I didn't think these people were left wing. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. Like, yeah, they're pretty right. I guess, yeah, it'd be like if someone suddenly went Nigel Farage really right wing, I wouldn't be like, no. Do you know what I mean? Like, just like.
It wouldn't be a Hail Hydra moment.
So that was why, like, it didn't click for me at first when I heard everyone.
Because it seemed so obvious.
Because I was like, oh, okay, that they genuinely didn't realise.
And on the other side of that, because there's a female lead, and because there's like a fat Jedi in it. Apparently, again, I've not seen.
Oh, what
it
the
yet.
acolyte?
Yeah, but my favourite thing about that, so like they're kicking off calling it woke and diversity check boxes and all this and stuff, and they're like, stupid, Star Wars has gone woke, but they've absolutely had a balls up, some of them, because they've been doing online reviews.
Yeah,
but they've been doing it for a film called Acolyte, which was like a 2006 horror film or something. They've been going on to this Acolyte film and being like absolutely ridiculous. Star Wars has gone woke. It's like, what are you talking about?
That's the problem, and that's the thing. These people, you can tell from their responses, aren't the most intelligent people. Sadly,
no. Well, they didn't even realise they were having the piss taken out of them.
No, and the thing is, talking about these sorts of people, like if we were to take it back to like reform voters.
Oh, I love a full circle moment.
I feel like there's definitely a chunk of these people that are actually racist, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think all reform voters are racist. I think most of them are either ignorant or misinformed, and that probably comes across as quite what's the word when you're looking down on people? Do you know, demeaning or?
Can I just clarify something then? Just for my own, to line up my own views on it with what you're saying. Do you mean that they perhaps currently hold racist views, but they're not racist at the core, just through their misinformation?
I guess that's what I mean. Yeah.
You don't know. Don't let me put words in your mouth.
No, it's hard to pin down exactly what I'm saying, but what I feel like with some of these people, it will be a case of they might be parroting borderline, if not outright racist things. But most of them, if you were to actually, as we said at the start, like question what it is they're supporting, they wouldn't actually be able to tell you. They might go down the immigration route. But again, I don't know if they give you a clear answer. But I think it's either ignorance or misinformation. Ignorance probably more than anything. But I don't think they're all racist.
Interesting, because that's what a certain someone said on social media. And you said at the start of the episode that you weren't sure about that.
Well, no, look, I'm not entirely sure about that, but I don't think that person is a racist. I think they say stupid shit and they're misinformed and they're ignorant. But
they do present racist views.
What, this person in particular?
Yeah, I'm using this person to represent everyone wider, but they do challenge. Sometimes they do present racist ideals. I don't think they believe them.
Yeah,
but they do.
Maybe that's the disagreement we're having, is over whether it's
the semantics.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's untoward regardless, and not something I can't understand how you get there, but I don't know. I guess maybe it's naivety that I'd like to believe it's ignorance or misinformation.
I think you're right. I don't think it's necessarily a racism at the core. I think it is just misinformation and fear.
That's why I said I think that is probably what I'm saying. Yeah. That it's not at their core, it's what they're parroting.
But let me take it back. Let me run it back to the start.
And the thing is, then I guess they are racist if they're parroting it, because whether they believe in it or not, racism is racism.
And I am going to bring it full circle again.
Please do.
If you don't think that people who are voting reform are necessarily racist, what other reason is there to vote reform?
I'm not going to sit here and try and justify reform. I think it's ignorance and stupidity.
But what kind of ignorance and stupidity?
And I think it's apathy as well. I think it's apathy.
But why would apathy lead them to reform rather than, say, the Greens or Lib Dems?
Misinformation. If you're being told that the root to all your problems is foreign people coming to this country, regardless of what the colour of their skin is.
But there it is. It's a misinformation about foreigners.
Yes, but not all foreigners are of a different race. Do you know what I mean?
No, but in this use of racism, I'm using racism and xenophobia interchangeably.
Yeah. The problem is, if you keep taking it into the racism territory, it takes us back to the conversation we had of however many episodes ago where we discussed when Keir Starmer was bringing Natalie Elphicke in, was it?
Yeah. Dover MP.
And the argument I was making, if you just push these people to the fringes, it doesn't achieve anything. If you just see them all as racist, it doesn't achieve anything either.
No, but
we need to understand why these people feel that way, why they've got there. My personal theory
I can see how they got there
through
but
apathy
they are holding
and resentment, ignorance and misinformation. They choose to believe in, whether it's racism at their core or because the people around them think it, the echo chamber they're in thinks it.
No, I'm with
That's where it leads them to believe.
There's a plethora of reasons.
The argument I feel like you're making is that means they're all racist.
No, not at all. I'm not. I'm I'm saying that I don't necessarily believe that they're racist at their core, but through misinformation they are holding racist views, and I do think that it's those racist views that are leading them to the Reform Party.
Yeah, maybe. Well, no, yeah, obviously.
Because I can't see another reason, and it might be my own stupidity and ignorance and blindness. I can't see another reason why someone would choose to go to Reform. Like I said, because a lot of the other arguments are fed up with the political establishment and blah, blah, blah. Well, why wouldn't that drive you to the Greens or the Lib Dems or to vote independently? Why would it vote you to Reform? What is it specifically that's driving you to Reform?
Conversations about, like, people, like the Greens, it's about wealth distribution. So if you're someone who disagrees with immigration, you're not going to agree with wealth.
But the only reason I can think, but that's my point is, like,
so that would be an argument as to why they don't go to
for
the
all
Greens.
the arguments of why you
an argument why they wouldn't go to the Lib Dems or they want to rejoin the EU. So that's why they won't go to the Lib Dems.
Yeah, fine.
Labour,
but why not go?
Talked about renegotiating the deal with the EU. They don't like Starmer, so that'll be why they're not.
If it's an EU
Labour.
thing, what is it about the EU? Because you talk about economically and stuff.
Yeah, you get into the root of it. It's going to be an
ultimately
immigration thing.
Ultimately, it's misinformation because economically, it's proven to be an absolute fucking disaster.
I'm just uncomfortable with saying with anyone who is misinformed or ignorant enough to have those views.
I'm not calling them racist. I'm not calling them racist.
No, but to say and the thing is, you're right and you're wrong for me, because at the root of it, they are racist ideals. But by labelling it that, you would instantly put anyone who feels that way backs up. And I'm not...
I would not necessarily...
I don't want to say we should mollycoddle these people and not call them out on
I wouldn't
their
necessarily
shit.
challenge them that way on it and just come out and say, you're racist, you're holding racist views. I'd just challenge the views and say, like I said to you, why are you voting for Reform? Why wouldn't...
And I think we fundamentally agree that if anyone listening to this holds those opinions, from my side at least, I'm trying to be as non-judgmental as possible. I'm not trying to look down on anyone. I would genuinely want them to question, as we've said earlier, why they feel that way and get to the root of it. And if the root of it is racist ideals, then I think you do need to look at that and you need to educate yourself.
And ask yourself, why are you holding those?
And like, if anyone listening to this would like information on anything that, or like, would like to talk to us about any of this, I would genuinely like to.
I would welcome it gladly.
And I wouldn't want it to be a confrontational conversation. And if it got confrontational...
No, I'd want to know why. I just want to know why.
I'm pretty sure it would be from the whoever it was we'd have on talking about it rather than ourselves.
I like to think so.
But yeah, like I'm always uncomfortable when we're trying to, for me anyway, I'm trying to like almost bring these people in. I want to have a conversation with them. Do you know what I mean? Like, look, we haven't got the platform for this to be an effective way of doing it. But,
no, but you can talk to one person.
Yeah. And that was what I was trying to do on Twitter. Do you know what I mean? Because I want to get to the root of it. Because if he comes back and just says, well, because I hate immigrants, well, then it's an easy conversation to have and be like, look, well, that is just racism. But yeah, it's difficult.
You got to go deeper than that as well. If someone says like immigrants, you go, why?
Yeah.
What is it about immigrants? And then you show them the data that suggests.
Well, that's the thing, because if they go, well, it's because all the immigrants are taking our jobs, GP appointments, and clogging up the NHS. Well, then you present evidence like, well, actually, immigrants are the reason the NHS run. They're not the ones clogging up the GPs. It's the fact we haven't got enough GPs and they've been massively overworked and underfunded, like most doctors and most people.
They're a
in
net
the
positive
NHS.
on the thing, on the economy.
By and large, immigrants are a net positive on the. So you could.
It's greedy.
there's
It's greedy
those-
bosses that don't want to pay
The
staff.
reason
It's
all these things are shit.
private landlords.
Yeah. The reason you feel
Housing issues.
disenfranchised, the reason the country's shit is because of cuts, austerity, and all these things, and because of Brexit. We may not want to look at that as being the reason, but it is that reason. So,
And then you say, why?
yeah.
So what is it really? What is it now that
Yeah.
you've got this information? Do you still hold those views? And if you do, why? And you just keep doing it. You just keep saying why.
And look, I think me and you, I would say by and large, there's not really anything we've agreed on other than the use of the word racism. And that's just because I don't like the idea of calling people racist. I don't know why it is.
Well, I didn't call people racist, did I?
No, I know. Let's not relitigate the conversation we've just had.
No,
for 20
fuck it. Let's
minutes.
go. Listen.
Just because you've been away for 2
I'm gonna
weeks
be
and you're full of
confrontational.
beans. But yeah, like, yeah, I guess what it always comes back to for me is I think I'm probably more naive than you are.
Maybe. I'm quite resolute in some of my ideals. I know that.
Yeah.
I do change my mind on stuff, and there have been a number of issues over the years that I have changed my mind on. Quite open about that. Actually, I don't think I've ever really spoken too much about it on the pod. There's a couple that really stand out. I'm not going to talk about them now.
No, we'll have to save them for the next episode.
Yeah.
It should be next week.
I am quite, firm on some of my deals. I know that, and sometimes it does blind me to some things, but, genuinely, I ask, we've spoken about asking the question why, I do ask that of myself.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, you take it back earlier, you ask me where I get my political ideals from. 9 times out of 10, it comes back to empathy. It's that simple, and just wanting other people not to suffer and to be able to do well, or to be able to be comfortable. That's what I want.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to when I ask myself why.
I completely agree.
If I have an ideal that I follow, that I go, oh, that seems a bit, I'm quite firm on that. Why? And that, that's all it comes down to. 9 times out of 10.
Yeah. I'm quite determined going forward, right? Because I don't know what's going to come next. I know it's most likely a Labour government, but I don't know what that means for us as people or as a society. But because we lived under Labour for my childhood, but for my entire adult life, it's been conservative.
Yeah.
But and this is around the world, we're more divided than we've ever been. I'm more certain than ever the only real way to affect change is as a collective. You can't do it any other way, really. The mechanisms aren't there to really affect change another way, and the level of corruption within the systems are as such, your hopes of actually ever changing anything are next to zero.
Yeah.
So, the reason I'm obsessed with, not alienating people and sort of, you could almost call it fence sitting, I wouldn't say so, because when we talk about issues, I still very much land on the left side of things. But my attitude towards the other side is more of one come on, let's have a chat about it. Because going forward, we're not going to achieve anything if this whole chunk of society that has been almost gaslit, entirely gaslit for the last 14 years in particular, and especially by people like Farage through dog whistle politics and divisiveness and hatred and bile, have managed to convince people that these people over there are the problem, and not the people up there that are absolutely living life and loving life. Like Rishi Sunak will get to leave office having done some very shitty things while in office, not just as Prime Minister, but as Chancellor of the Exchequer. The hiding of messages during Partygate. And that's the thing we forget, because he likes to bang on about furlough during COVID.
Yeah, but if we want to talk about COVID, he was Partygate front and centre,
Yeah, one of the first people fined. So many people get to walk away from politics without any accountability. I would like to see a genuine change, and I wish we'd have got onto it sooner, but stuff like proportional representation. I think I'm erring on the side of I think we need it, even if that means the right has more of a chance of growing. I think for a fairer society, it's the way to go. And again, we'll have to debate it at another point. I don't know how you feel about it.
Does the evidence suggest that actually it would be more beneficial to the left than the right?
Yeah, it probably would be. But yeah, I just feel like more than ever, I want everyone to be more together and less focused on what's dividing us rather than what we agree needs to be done going forward. Because whether you're on the right, left or whatever, we all agree the country's pretty shit at the moment. We might disagree on what's causing it, but I feel like if we can get the message out there,
if we agree on what's causing it, if we can't agree on what's causing it, we can't agree on how to fix it.
Yeah, but I think that's down to we need to, like, I don't know.
Just playing devil's advocate.
No, 100%. But like, it's the media. It's allowing politicians to lie. Like that has to be clamped down on. It can't continue to go on as it has.
Then you need to talk about having a whole shift in the way the media is regulated and the way the media ownership is regulated.
Totally.
It's a big thing. It's a much bigger thing than what it appears on the surface.
Totally. All of it is, though. Not all, and the problem is with a lot of this stuff, they're all interconnected. It's all there's veins of issues running through all of it, and I don't necessarily have the answers to it. I have ideas of what I'd like to do to change some of it. Not necessarily the
someday you'll
side
share
of things, but yeah, my message going out there is that the only hope any of us are going to have is together, rather than putting our hope in any politician or party.
Yeah, I'd like us to be together.
So yeah, genuinely, anyone out there who would consider themselves more on the right, or even if you're someone who would vote Reform, I mean, I'd be surprised if someone voting Reform listened to the podcast.
If you do, though, get in touch.
Yes, please do, because we would genuinely like to have a conversation with you. We would make sure it's as cordial as possible, but beware, we are going to call you out if we disagree with something.
Well, just come on and have a chat like we're having now. I mean, we've disagreed.
Yeah, and we've not smacked each other or called each other racist. So.
Too flirty behaviour and it slapping each other.
We're too attracted to one another for any of that.
You can't look this good, as we both do.
Yeah, and be violent. No.
We've got to respect the face and the body.
Yeah.
That's why we attack with words.
Jake, tell the people what the socials are.
The socials, let's see if I can remember
them.
Oh, it's been a while.
On the spot.
Oh, it's been a while. At Swords Crossing on Twitter.
Yeah, boy.
At CrossingSwords_podcast on Instagram and TikTok. Crossing Swords on Facebook. You can find us just by searching Crossing Swords Podcast on YouTube. The link of each episode on YouTube will be in the description of each episode wherever you're listening to your podcasts. If you're listening somewhere that allows you to like, rate, subscribe, please do. Please head over to YouTube, hit a like button, watch the video. You can just watch the first 10 seconds, hit a like button. It makes a huge difference. Leave a comment, thumbs up, thumbs down. I don't give a shit. Like, it just makes such a difference. So please, please, please do the same with our shorts. YouTube shorts, even easier to watch, even quicker.
Yeah.
Makes a massive, massive difference to us. So please, please do. If you see our stuff on social media and you like it, please subscribe it. Please give it a little retweet, a little repost. Massively helpful.
Very few things in life are free, but a like and a subscribe is one of them.
Yes. And what we're giving is free.
Yeah, we don't charge for this unadulterated, beautiful content.
We give for free. If you could give back for free, that'd be great.
That'd be phenomenal. Guys, it's great. Jake, it's great having you back. It's
great
nice to see you here.
It's good to be back.
And yeah, we'll see you next time.
Bye.